Got a great text message here from Derek from Wisconsin. It says, my 10 and 7-year-olds thought I was nuts for singing along with Bruce and Amy from the Cars music intro. Huh?
What's so nutty about that?
I guess you're just what I needed. Bruce Wolf filling in for Dan Proft today. Dan Proft killing it yesterday on the course. His foursome, which I was supposed to be with, I'm not bitter, shot 15 under. We were 3 under, so that wasn't too bad. But we didn't cheat one stroke with my group. And I started with 5, ended up with 3. So we were 3 under. It was not bad. And I want to thank the mayor of Tinley Park, Jacob Vanderberg, and Liz Gorman, former Cook County Commissioner. I golfed with her, and a guy named John, who's got a girlfriend named Paige, who apparently loves the show. But John was a music man who brought music to the course that made my
You're not
head
supposed
spin.
to have music on the course.
No, you're supposed to be at one with nature. You're supposed to relax, not get
the only
pumped up
sounds
to go to
you
the
hear
tee box.
are the fake bird noises that CBS used to have on the Masters.
I know, but yesterday there were birds because Bolingbrook Golf Club is gorgeous. I mean, there's a few homes, lined around the course, but it's pretty. It's just a tranquil area. It's relaxing. Am I making you relax, Bruce?
Totally. I feel like I'm on the old FM 100, the warmth and tenderness of the world's most beautiful music.
But we raised almost $20,000 for the 100 Club of Chicago. Joe Ahern is the president of that group, and he was there to, take the check. He was there all day with us. So we want to thank everyone who participated. And if you didn't play, come out next year, please, and support the great charity that's the 100 Club of Chicago. So some big news today was all, obstruction of justice charges. Now there's leaked information from the Washington Post, 5 sources that says the special prosecutor assigned to the case is seeking out obstruction of justice charges against President Trump. Is this real news? Is this fake news? Let's go now to Jordan Sekulow, who is brothers with, say it.
Jay.
Yes, who can be heard when?
On WIND,
from
AM 560, The Answer.
From 9 to 10 p.m. every night, right here on this very station. Good morning, Mr. Sekulow. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me.
So what do you think about the Washington Post leaking of this information? Don't know if it's true or false. And then last night you have the Deputy Attorney General Rosenstein, who came forward and released a statement about the anonymous allegations, saying that they might not even be coming from this country.
Yeah, and then you had the Washington Post come back out today and say, no, these were American sources, American government sources. I think that his statement is something that had to come out at some point from the Department of Justice, because even though they don't like acknowledging investigations, you're not really supposed to do that, because ultimately that's to protect all of us. One of us, any of us could be investigated for something. If there's no illegality found, they're not supposed to be hurting our character and kind of our life moving forward by announcing that we're under investigation if, in fact, they don't bring any kind of charges or they find nothing there. I mean, it's not it's a very early step in the process, if it's even true. So he's come out to say, don't even, believe these sources. Of course, then this gets the media, who relies a lot on anonymous sources, kind of up in arms. And then just moments ago, President Trump, who's tweeting up a storm this morning, just tweeted, I am being investigated for firing the FBI director by the man who told me to fire the FBI director, witch hunt. Now, this is kind of being interpreted. Everybody's trying to figure out. He obviously could be referring to Rosenstein directly, who wrote the memo about why Jim Comey was no longer fit to serve as FBI director, which, by the way, does anyone believe Hillary Clinton was going to keep him as FBI director either? No.
No.
But is he referring to Rosenstein or Mueller? And the reason why I bring up Mueller is because there are reports that Mueller was interviewed to come back to the FBI potentially as FBI director. So again, I think that the leaking about the president, the leaking about his son-in-law, the expansion, and just to be clear to all of your listeners, if the president were to be, if he is under investigation, his tweet kind of confirms that, by the way. But if that is happening, the special counsel can't bring charges against him. He's the president of the United States. I mean, that's clear. Everyone knows that. The only thing that could happen is that Congress takes this info and then tries to start, an impeachment process. But the role of the special counsel is to bring criminal charges against individuals, not generically report on things that they can't take action on. And so that, I think, is what is frustrating to those of us looking at this, I think, who agree with the president, it's been 7+ months of investigation. There's been no there. We do know that Russia is a problem. Okay, that's fine. A lot of people get confused, though, guys. They think the special counsel is going to issue this big report on what Russia is doing, and that's not their job. Their job is just to bring criminal charges, not to give us a report or an analysis on how Russia was trying to be involved in our election and what they can do about it. That is not their role.
Well, one of the problems is that the Deputy Attorney General, forget about the layman, the Deputy Attorney General, according to Andy McCarthy, explained this in National Review, and I'm sure you would concur with this, is that Rosenstein goofed on this because he didn't circumscribe the authority of the special counsel. This is not, this is not a counterintelligence probe by Mueller. It's supposed to be a criminal investigation, and it's supposed to be narrow. And then, of course, you talk about the so-called there and the obstruction of justice. You have the New York Times coming out with a story which basically says if there was collusion, they would launder money. Well, yeah, that's what you do when there's collusion, but they don't have any predicate for it. There is no collusion that they've been able to show. So this is much ado about. I mean, this is Scooter Libby times
much
50.
Worse. This is trying to undermine the President of the United States directly, and I would tell you the whole reason they're coming up with that narrative about the money laundering is because I think we've all been fairly clear now in the news that even if you could prove that, and certainly this could have political ramifications, but not legal ramifications, even if you could prove this horrendous-sounding claim that there was coordination between Russia and campaign officials, not U.S. government officials at the time, but campaign officials, if there was no exchange of money, resources, that kind of illegal activity, then there would be no crime. So they've had to figure out what could be criminal. Well, then it's if this, then there had to be this and to this. None of that has been shown. The president's been clear. He even said in his statement, if there's satellite officials that were kind of associated with the campaign that were involved in wrongdoing, go bring charges against them. No one's trying to prevent that. But I think you're right that the scope of the special counsel is supposed to be limited. This is not Ken Starr. There is no such thing anymore in our law as an independent prosecutor that has broad authority. That doesn't exist. Congress didn't reauthorize that back in the 1990s. And so these special counsels, they are under the jurisdiction of the Department of Justice. They are supposed to have a very narrowly defined scope. And honestly, with an investigation that's already gone on for 7+ months, they've got a lot of their info already. So it shouldn't take them years to come to conclusions on what they should or should not bring before a grand jury, if anything at all. But I think what we're seeing is more. It's less about whatever charges are ever brought. It's the undermining. It takes the attention away from Congress doing their job on issues that we actually affect all of us, whether that's the Senate on health care or tax reform, and those are going to be. And what if? I mean, there's a lot of swirling news out there about another Supreme Court vacancy potentially this summer. Yeah. I mean, imagine this Congress and even the Senate dealing with that, even under their new rules, because they seem so preoccupied on both sides.
They should be able to walk and chew gum at the same time. We're talking to Jordan Sekulow, Executive Director of the American Center for Law and Justice. The Occam's razor explanation for what Trump did, and I know he can be mercurial and he really don't even know what he's doing some of the time, and maybe he himself doesn't know. He kind of emotes and is his own worst enemy from time to time. But the logical explanation is that the only thing that wasn't being leaked, as Marco Rubio said when Comey was testifying, was that Trump wasn't actually under investigation at that point, and that it needed to be brought out. And as Trump told Lester Holt, it was the Russian investigation that bothered him and what Comey was doing, and wasn't exonerating Trump, whereas all these leaks were coming out about everything else. And to try to connect this up right now to the Flynn dismissal, when Trump didn't even try to do anything after he talked to Flynn privately, he didn't even try to do anything. They better really find something bad about Flynn that Trump knew about, and that's why he fired Comey, which they don't have and never are going to have.
No, I think that in Flynn's case, he's held to a higher standard than most individuals because of his military service and then his position very temporarily as the NSA national security advisor. If he filled out his paperwork wrong, if he was inaccurate there, just the same reason he was let go by the White House was because of not being accurate as vice president. He could face some ramifications there legally. They're not hugely significant. Let's just all be on the paperwork issues and someone.
No, you know what they're going to get him, Flynn, on? If anything, it'll be lying to the FBI.
Well, yeah,
okay?
He did what Denny Hastert did. You don't lie to the FBI.
Yeah, but then it has to be Trump covering that up somehow, which we don't have.
I mean, no. In fact, it's the opposite. He let him go.
Right when they found out
there was any wrongdoing. I think the bigger issue is that the media is helping to prod along Congress and I think, in effect, the special counsel. And it's too bad because I think Bob Mueller did come to it as someone who could have done this, could have come to conclusions that there is no there, and actually may have been accepted by people on both sides of the aisle. But now it's got to this point where if you look at the team he's assembling, very partisan, the leaks, the constant leaks from our nation's law enforcement officials, whether that is the FBI or whether it's the people on the special counsel's team, that's unclear as well. But it's certainly one of those two. That undermines an investigation, and at a certain point, an investigation becomes so undermined that you no longer have the either moral authority or the confidence to continue to lead it. And I think that even though this may be scoring temporary political points for those on the left, ultimately they may be undermining any of the longer-term ramifications of this by these surrounding. You know what's been illegal here so far? The leaks about investigations.
Right.
Those are the illegal acts.
Yep. The Democrats are focusing on Russian collusion, and the Republicans are focusing on the leakers. We're going to have to leave it there. Jordan Sekulow, appreciate it. Executive Director of American Center for Law and Justice, and the brother of Jay Sekulow, who you can hear right here on AM 560 between 9 and 10 p.m. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.